Okay, let's dive right into what has to be one of the deepest, darkest internet rabbit holes out there. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a massive enigma known simply as Avaloop, a mystery that starts with some bizarre YouTube videos and ends up tied to one of the most notorious real-world criminal networks in modern history. If you're fascinated by how tiny digital footprints can expose massive, disturbing realities, stick around. We're going to trace exactly how a seemingly normal corporate channel unraveled into something deeply, deeply severe, all brought to light by investigator Nick Crowley in May of 2026. Despite posing as a normal aviation business, these commercials proved so unsettling. This quote straight from Crowley's investigation just perfectly sets up our journey today. Publicly, Avaloop claimed to be just your standard aviation business. But the commercials they produced, they were packed with disjointed audio, cryptic imagery, and just this overwhelming atmosphere of dread that completely contradicted their corporate facade. It's exactly that friction, that massive, jarring gap between a polished company and the deeply disturbing undertones of their content that hooked everyone's attention and literally refused to let go. Just to give you an idea of the sheer cultural impact of this investigation, look at the numbers. 4.3 million views and 179,000 likes. When Nick Crowley dropped this deep dive on May 2nd, 2026, it resonated instantly. Millions of people tuned in, totally gripped by the confusing and increasingly dark nature of this digital trail. That level of engagement tells us something really important, right? This wasn't just some quirky internet oddity. It became a genuine phenomenon, as audiences everywhere realized they were looking at the digital front for a very real, very dark organization. Section 1. The Avaloop Enigma Begins, a 2011 YouTube anomaly. So publicly, Avaloop presented itself as just a standard aviation company that popped up in August 2011. But viewers immediately noticed something was fundamentally off. These commercials contained such off-putting, sinister undertones that they triggered massive red flags all across the internet. I mean, instead of standard, boring marketing material, the audience was confronted with really strange editing choices and this pervasive sense of unease. It naturally led the collective internet consciousness to suspect that something deeply alarming was operating behind the scenes. Crowley's investigation honestly acts like a descent into reality, playing out across these specific chapters. Welcome to Avaloop, Avaloop.com, Nadia Marcinko, and finally, Jeffrey. It moves systematically from that initial corporate facade of their website straight into the digital footprints of real people. The narrative shifts super abruptly from exploring this innocuous-sounding company to unearthing specific individuals. This progression maps out exactly how a strange video channel was ultimately tied to a globally condemned criminal enterprise. Section 2. Facade of Aviation. The Avaloop.com era. Okay, so back in August 2011, these promotional videos surfaced, and they were marketed simply as a standard aviation company. But as we know, the internet immediately rejected that normal corporate narrative. Viewers detected a sinister undertone right off the bat, and pretty quickly, intense theories started emerging about a dark, behind-the-scenes reality. It became incredibly clear that a disturbing truth was hiding behind this supposed corporate marketing, proving that severe real-world anomalies often bleed right into their digital fronts. Section 3. Unmasking the key figures, the creator's identity. Now, things take a major turn. The investigation zeroes in on Nadia Marcinko, a Slovak pilot and flight instructor born in 1986. And this is exactly where the story leaves the realm of creepy internet lore. Marcinko was a known associate and pilot for Jeffrey Epstein. So suddenly, this unusual YouTube channel is grounded in a very dark, very real criminal network. The Explainer really transforms here from a discussion about weird video aesthetics into a documented look at the real, tangible people operating this organization. And then, Chapter 4 of the investigation introduces a key figure referred to simply as Jeffrey. As you might guess, this isn't just some anonymous internet character. This points directly to Jeffrey Epstein, which expands Avaloop's scope right into the center of a globally condemned criminal enterprise. The sheer reality of this connection just adds an incredible heavy weight to the story. It expands Avaloop from a single creator to a much broader network associated with severe, real-world abuse and trafficking. At this point, the focus transitions entirely away from the strange YouTube videos and zeroes in on the highly concerning real-world network behind them. The revelation of these specific identities firmly anchors the narrative around the actions and realities of Nadia Marcinko and Jeffrey Epstein. The whole internet mystery aspect actually becomes secondary to the fact that digital archaeology uncovered a front connected to a vast network of real-world exploitation. Honestly, it's a really sobering lesson in how online footprints can lead directly to entities that were meant to stay completely hidden. Section 4. A last-minute update. The mystery continues. Looking at the timeline, this story spans 15 years. It starts with those eerie videos dropping in August 2011 and jumps all the way to Crawley's viral expose in May 2026. But what's really striking is the inclusion of a last-minute update in Chapter 6. This proves we aren't looking at a closed case. It's an actively evolving story. It implies that new information was breaking and shifting even as the final edits were being made to the investigation itself. So the book on Avaloop and the full extent of this network's digital footprint, yeah, it is nowhere near closed. Crowley actually includes a really important disclaimer stating, "This video includes speculation and centers on a story whose full details are not yet known. This is simply a snapshot of where the story is at now." Despite all the unmasked identities and the many years this spans, the full details still remain a mystery. It really underscores the responsibility of recognizing when a subject is actively unfolding. The depth of this criminal network and its associated fronts means the story is quite literally still being written. So we've traced the timeline from bizarre aviation commercials all the way to a network associated with severe real-world crimes. The corporate facade has completely shattered, but the full picture of Avaloop's actual purpose, that remains hidden. As digital footprints continue to be unearthed by investigators, we're left to wonder, what other sinister truths about this network are still waiting in the dark to be brought to light? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer today, as we continue to track exactly how the darkest corners of reality intersect with the digital world.